is in the know for Wednesday, March 19, the 78th day of 2025. There are 287 days left in the year. Good morning, MB. Guiding you through In the Know at K105 on Litchfield's Country Station 1039 The Moose. Live online at K105.com via the Apple and Android smartphone app using the SoundCloud, iTunes, or Spotify podcast. On Facebook, on YouTube, on the platform formerly known as Twitter, and the hashtag is In the Know. Coming up today, we'll update you on the latest news headlines from around the community, the county, the Commonwealth, and the country. We're a day closer to the official start of the NCAA tournament. We are less than 24 hours from the beginning of spring, and we'll also talk about the most misspelled words. That and a whole lot more coming up today here on In the Know. Settling into my left, rolling Mach 9 with her hair on fire, is my beautiful wife, the beautiful girl. It's Beej. Good morning, sweetheart.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm okay.
Spring arrives at 4:01 Central Time tomorrow.
All right.
As the temperature rises, you are also supposed to keep an eye on your wallet because as the temperature warms up, so does your desire to buy things. So, but at Vandelay Industries, you appreciate that.
I do.
People, if they've got money burning a hole in their wallet, then you can spend it at Vandelay Industries.
That is, yes, please.
Are you ready for spring?
I am. I think yes.
Okay.
I'm definitely ready for spring.
Do you have a spring cold?
Something is going on.
A little early for a spring cold, maybe, but maybe it's a late winter cold. Over there in chair number 3, we say good morning and welcome back. She is Grayson County Extension Services Ag Agent, Miss Whitney Carmen. Morning.
Morning.
How are you doing?
I am glad to be here.
Welcome back. Good to see you. Spring tomorrow. Professionally, obviously, planting season, and you get really busy as an ag agent. But as a mom, it's baseball season.
I was gonna say.
So, how many nights a week are you going to be spending at the ballpark for the next month?
I don't even want to count. I know. Well, and the problem is that they are. If you're a parent with multiple kids doing it, you all are all aware that they can't be on other nights. They have to be all on the same night.
Of course, that's the way that it works. Does Silas have a bat in his hand yet?
He starts t-ball this year.
Okay, so all three in action at the same time, ranging from middle school age down to t-ball.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, but yeah, never mind.
Just say a few prayers for me. That's all.
I'm going to say you are going to be extremely
And all those parents doing it.
extremely busy. Windy and warm today before evening storms. Are going to see a wind advisory over the day today. Wind gusts near 40 miles per hour. Strong evening thunderstorms, damaging winds, and hail possible for the short term. Make a note of what I'm about to say. Rain and snowflakes tomorrow with cold, gusty winds. Now, you're more likely to see snowflakes off to our north, the closer you get to Louisville. But it is a possibility just because that volatile a weather system that moves through and the winds and then the atmospheric temperatures, et cetera, it can be sort of just a weird weather day. I remember a few years ago it snowed the day before Easter. So, it's not beyond the realm of possibility, not typically when Easter is the end of April. But we're still we're not out of the woods, even though the spring is officially arriving tomorrow morning. So windy evening storms, a high of 72, periods of storms overnight tonight, a low of 42. Spring begins tomorrow with windy, showery conditions, a 60% chance of that, and a high of 46. They are home. Butch and Sunny made it back to Earth yesterday via the Dragon 4 capsule. There were 4 of the astronauts who splashed down right on time. I was so disappointed. I got so busy and engrossed yesterday. I actually I missed the live splashdown. 2 minutes after the fact, I shared with Miss Buckles. I said, I cannot believe that I have missed the splashdown, but they were in the water and I got to see the recovery and get them exit the craft. So it has been.
I would be interested to see how how long it takes them to recuperate from being gone that long.
I heard someone say on the normal basis it takes about a month for you to, because you got to get used to 1G. Yeah, you're used to weightlessness. Well, not completely weightlessness, but much different than Earth, and so you got to get accustomed to the gravitational pull. I didn't know about Sunny until this morning that she already has an elementary school named for her. Like, she's such a champion of her community that the people in the town where she lives named their elementary school after her. You ladies, I think, have also a special appreciation for Sunny. Is she was prepared to go 8 days, and there's a chance she went to see her hairdresser right before she went 8 days. Or maybe she said, no, I'll be back in 8 days. I'll see my hairdresser then. But one of the things I have observed over the 9.5 months is there's not a L'Oreal counter on the space station. And so, bless her heart, she just kind of leaned into it, but you could just sort of tell, you kind of compare like old men, the longer their beard gets, that
Yes.
indicates some level of time. But in Sunny's hair, especially in weightlessness, her hair was always standing straight up. She looked like, her hair was standing straight up. And so you could measure, like the rings of a tree, you could measure the length of the gray.
Yeah, and I would imagine though she's probably one of those folks that any of those people that are science minded, I almost feel like that beauty is and vain is probably not their number one
not
priority.
right up there. Yeah,
So
but
she's probably into it though. She's probably excited. And,
She didn't care, and it's
No.
something that she has to be prepared for. But we're all vain at some level.
Sure.
And in her mind, she thought, well, maybe
only
she
gonna be there 8
maybe
days.
she colors her own hair. Maybe
Yeah.
she doesn't. I'm just telling you, it's not all gray. So she clearly, at some point in time, had decided that she was
Yes.
going to
Yeah.
try and maintain color other than
That's
gray.
right.
Couple of funny things. I love seeing the rescue squad and how they do that and the procedures they go through. I saw one of the talking heads, the commentators, say yesterday that he had been to the space station for a long period of time. I don't know that it was a year, but a long period. He said he would do all of that again just for the final 20 minutes. They said the re-entry from that capsule and to the splashdown, the chutes open and it slows their descent down to about 16 miles an hour, just like this slow, graceful descent, and they hit the water. They said that the 20 minutes of return is worth the entire experience.
That's cool. That's a really
Yeah.
cool.
I would have thought it was the
description.
blast off.
Me
I thought
too.
the blast off would, because Mission Space at Disney kind of gives you that
Yeah,
sensation.
yes.
But you don't really think about the return and the splashdown. And the commander of the capsule said nothing but grins across the board. So they were all happy. It was also funny. I shared with you yesterday that I heard the SpaceX narrator say they would splash down into the Gulf of America. And it was the first time that I had heard anyone in official capacity
Say that.
identify as the Gulf of America. But for the very reason that the Associated Press got thrown out of the White House, in their story today said the capsule parachuted into the Gulf of Mexico. So I don't know if they landed in the Gulf of America or the Gulf of Mexico, but somewhere off the panhandle of Florida is where they
Yeah.
where they landed yesterday. The Litchfield City Council met earlier this week, and toward the end of Monday night's meeting, one of the new council members, Tim Bocock, strongly encouraged the idea of the city becoming more aggressive and using different tactics regarding the attraction of new business to Litchfield. Had kind of some lengthy remarks, and you can read about them at K105.com. I encourage you to do that. But just a brief part of his statement said, I don't think we reinvent the wheel, but we look at what other communities are doing and doing well. He said, I think we need to evaluate our return on investment on what we're getting from the Industrial Foundation, because anecdotally, it seems like we're not getting our money's worth there, and maybe if we could look at investing that money elsewhere. So that's the crux of the conversation, and an ongoing conversation, by the way, of members from the community, be it former council members, current council members, county leaders, et cetera. I think that one of the things that it's important in the year 2025 is to reevaluate the word industrial. I think that industrial says something to us, or it indicates something that maybe is not the way we do things in 2025. A lot of communities have shifted away from calling it industrial development to just economic development, because not all economic development is industrial, but all industrial development is economic. And so you would have to look and say, well, if a call center, if you recruited a call center to the community, would that be considered industry? Because are they manufacturing, our traditional sense of industry and how that, so I don't know if a rethinking of the ideology would be helpful or not. But I also believe that we're also not living in a 1990s model where the MTDs of the world are just rolling into town with hundreds and hundreds of jobs. Now, in the future, there is a chance that because of some of the things that President Trump is doing through trying to induce manufacturing to relocate to the United States, maybe there is an opportunity in the coming days. But there are multiple reasons that we have the sensation that we're not generating job growth. And when you see a company like Bell leave the community, that obviously gets people's attention. So I'm for reevaluating. I'm for what works. That's kind of my mantra, is that I'm not stuck on the way that we do it. I'm not stuck in the construct of how we do it. I'm not stuck on the finances of how we do it, but I am for finding a solution that works for the betterment of the community. So.
Yeah, I know Extension is really honing in on the state level about economic development, and that is and it is very open and broad to each community. And so what works for us, is going to be important.
There were a couple of things, and I don't want to get caught up in this, but I have a long history, I think, for commentary on this type of subject. And in the same way that Tim was talking about having a salesperson, if you will, go to California where the high tax burdens are choking companies and they're looking for alternatives, then I think you could go and try and sell them on the benefits of what our area has, or New Jersey, where it's so expensive to live, et cetera. But I will still tell you that we have a labor force problem. So at the same time, while you're trying to recruit industry, someone or someones need to be going to Eastern Kentucky and selling Eastern Kentuckians on how great it is to live between the lakes and how many
Right.
job opportunities there are, because companies won't come without a qualified labor force. And we're already in competitive waters in the labor forces waters that we're swimming in right now. So it is not a single silver bullet. It's not a single person's job. It is a symphony of jobs working together to get the desired outcome.
And I would to add on to that, I mean, I do know there are people coming from other places because they come in our office, and they may be moving here, but they're not necessarily working here. Mm-hmm. And so how do we get them here and staying here?
I would also believe that the overwhelming majority of population ingress over the last decade are boomers retiring. So they're not even
yes.
coming to join the labor force. They might become part-time farmers.
Or they're coming, yes, I was going to say they're coming in because they've moved. I talked with someone recently, they moved from Montana because the prices were so outrageous out there. They could live out here, and the type of work that he did,
Right.
plus the farming aspect of it, which is why they were at my office, was, the reason they moved to, because I always ask them, why Grayson County?
Sure,
Because
yeah.
I'm just curious myself,
I always love to ask that question too,
yeah.
because I've
Yeah.
always said I love carpetbaggers. I love people who choose. I love people who choose.
Yeah.
Anya, when Anya was with
Yeah.
tourism, and she looked at me funny the first time I called her a carpetbagger. I was like, no, that's
a good thing,
It's a
yes.
compliment
We like
because
you.
you chose to come here,
Yes.
rather than those of us who happen to be born here and decided, okay,
Right.
we like it here, we'll stay. But it's two completely different, decisions. What we need recruitment efforts to find a 25-year-old husband and wife with a family of one, soon to be two, with plans that want professional jobs or want high-paying blue-collar jobs, et cetera, that want to come. And then if we have a whole portfolio of those or have access to those, then we can also go to companies that are in California, New Jersey, et cetera, and say, get out of this high taxation, get out of this high property value, cost of living, et cetera, and come here where we have very little crime. We have, cost of living is favorable, et cetera. So again, it's a symphony of activities, not a singular activity, at least in my opinion. A neat story that I read today from Kentucky Today involves the Mayfield Kentucky State Police telecommunicators, what we would have historically called dispatchers, but they are telecommunicators, and they are using something called CAD, and they used it recently to prevent a tragedy. So I'll try and give you the summarized version. Friday morning, March 7th, they got multiple 911 calls from the same number, but when they answered the call, no one was on the other end, or they couldn't hear anyone on the other end. Well, they used a new feature through the 10.8 systems. It's called CAD, to establish a contact with the caller. They were able to establish a text message conversation. And so the caller indicated via text message the microphone on her cell phone didn't work. And she was not able to talk, as the person who assaulted her that she was in the car with did not know she had called 911. So through text messaging, they were able to communicate with her. She said that he had broken her glasses. She was not able to see mile markers, signs, etc., that could have relayed. So they went one next step. They went to the health app. So they were able to use health data or other metrics on the phone to identify, and so they interceded them and pulled them over just 2 miles from the Tennessee line and rescued her.
Wow.
That's impressive.
And so I use that as an example. You know, we've talked about when you call 911, how long will it be before it's all FaceTime? Because I would think that any telecommunicator would benefit from the additional dimension, because they have to, who do I roll? How many do I roll? You're having to ask direct questions and hope for direct answers, et cetera. But if you have the benefit of sight, there are things you can rule out or rule in immediately. So it's just, to me, it's just an exciting time of what technology is offering in the space of public safety, in cases where, you know, somebody's trapped in a car with someone that has assaulted them, and they're able to ultimately rescue them. So I think that's great. The Cougar baseball season began yesterday and defeated Hart County 4-2. Gage Napier struck out 10 and had an RBI to help the Cougars start 1-0. They will travel to Ohio County tomorrow evening, where I presume it's going to be cool. The UK men's basketball team kind of has an underdog mentality going into the big dance because they are undermanned. I think they will get Lamont Butler back, but they will play Troy on Friday evening. Whitney, I know you've been busy. You've been out on bereavement leave, et cetera, but you should have received your notice
did.
yesterday.
I got it.
I mean, everybody's just trying to be like you in the bracket contest.
Like,
So.
I know, I
here
have
going,
such big shoes to fill. No, I really, I actually did watch the selection show on Sunday just to kind of see, but I will have to just sit down and take a look at it this evening while I'm, watching some baseball. I might do that.
So one slight change that I would mention, because we have several players now. We've accumulated them over the years, whether it's digital productions crew, former co-hosts, fill-in co-hosts, et cetera. So we got a larger group. And one of the changes that I made to the scoring this year is that you get escalating points. So first round games picks are 2, but you also get the points of the seed. So if you pick a 15 to upset a 2, you
that's a
get
good
2
idea.
points for the game, but you get
Plus
15 for
15.
the seed of the upset.
That's a good idea.
And so I'm hoping that will make it more competitive
saying
and
you're giving me
jockeying
more of a-
going in. Well, what historically has happened, it just comes down to who wins the national championship game
Yes.
because it's worth 32 points.
Right.
And so if you're within 32, you have a chance, et cetera.
Yeah.
So the real goal in our game is just to make sure that you've got as many Final Four teams as possible.
Yes.
Because those are worth maximum points. But then I thought throwing in this little sprinkling of the seed, because then you get rewarded for picking, big upsets. You take a
Upsets, yeah.
13, you take a 12, something like that.
Which could happen.
It certainly could
Especially
happen.
this year.
It sounds like it's favorable to me because I don't know what I'm doing.
Fortune favors the bold in this case.
Okay.
Yeah, if you pick a 15 over a 2, you're going to
Yeah,
be rewarded
that's
with
right.
All right.
15 points there.
Okay.
So it should be exciting. 10:15 in the morning is the deadline, I
Yep,
believe. Is
I
what
got it.
saw. So I got to get to mine too. I haven't filled it out at all. We got to get to a break. Whitney Klarman is our guest co-host today. We're going to talk about the most misspelled words, or at least most often misspelled words, coming up here on In the Know.
At Owensboro Health Family Medicine in Litchfield, Dr. Priyank Chauhan provides compassionate care for adults and seniors. Board certified in internal and geriatric medicine, he's dedicated to managing chronic conditions, preserving independence, and enhancing the quality of life. Proudly serving Grayson County because your health matters. Schedule today. Call Owensboro Health Family Medicine in Litchfield at 270-259-8888.
When buying or selling a home, you want experience, trust, and personal touch. But they say you can only pick two. Well, with Gina Lastly at Tom Baxter Real Estate, you get all three. With a decade of expertise as a broker, Gina's attention to detail and passion for real estate make her a trusted friend and professional. She goes above and beyond to ensure your real estate journey is smooth and successful.
I'm Gina Lasley. Put my passion for real estate to work for you. Call me now at 217-721-0034.
Discover the difference at TomBaxterRealestate.com.
Yellowwood knows that a five-star backyard is the place to make lasting memories. Like roasting marshmallows on a cool fall night. That's it. Turn it nice and slow. Get it toasted all... Oh no, it's on fire. Oh, you want it on fire. Okay, that's a choice, I guess. Crunchy. For five-star backyards and the most memorable experiences, Yellowwood brand pressure-treated pine. If it doesn't have that yellow tag, you don't want it.
Today, successful small businesses are lean, portable, and focused. If you're running your own business, you need to stay in tune to your customers, vendors, and employees. That doesn't leave much time for processing payroll and reporting, much less the overall performance of your business. The firm of Buckles, Travis, and Hart has a full offering of services for small businesses. Payroll processing, tax liability, unemployment, and financial reporting, just to name a few. Think of them like a built-in business manager, but they don't get sick and they don't ask for time off. Call or contact today to help get your business focused across the board. Buckles, Travis, and Hart. 270-259-5604. GraysonCPAs.com.
Thinking about furthering your education? At Elizabethtown Community and Technical College, you'll get a high-quality education close to home at a cost that won't break the bank. Enjoy small class sizes with professors who take a personal interest in your success. Scholarships are still available, making our low tuition even more affordable. ECTC's Litchfield campus is now enrolling for classes that start May 11th. Visit elizabethtown.kctcs.edu to get started. ECTC, College for the Real World.
Apple's next iPhone reportedly is going to be completely port-free. Bloomberg reports that means the newer, slimmer iPhone 17 Air is going to be losing the USB-C connector and relying solely on wireless charging as well as syncing data with the cloud. It looks to be the same wireless technology that Apple Watch has used since its beginning. A legal victory for Meta against a former employee who wrote a memoir about her time at the company. An arbitrator has ruled that Sarah Wynne Williams' book, Careless People, a cautionary tale of power, greed, and lost idealism, may have violated the non-disparagement agreement that she signed when she left the company in 2017. She can no longer promote the book until her private arbitration is complete. And Google's Gemini 2.0 Flash seems to have very few guardrails. It appears that the new AI model can be used to strip watermarks from pages. TechCrunch reports the program not only deletes watermarks, but fills in any gaps that are left behind by the deletion. Removing a watermark without the original owner's consent is considered illegal under U.S. copyright law. Tech Report, I'm Mark Mayfield.
Right about now, you're about to be possessed by the sounds of MC Rawface and DJ Easy Rock.
Today is Backyard Day. I think Dirty May loves our backyard probably more than about anybody. It is Poultry Day. So, Whitney, you have to send I heart you messages to all your poultry producers today.
I will.
And it is Let's Laugh Day. And I have already done that. I laughed out loud, unprovoked, in the break, and you all wanting to know why. Is that fair to say? You all wanting to know why? So I had just talked about the bracket and not getting my bracket completed, etc. And so I got a reminder on my phone that I just glanced down and said, and it's from Self. And it was set a year ago to show up this morning at 9:15, and the message says this: do not pick South Carolina or Mississippi State.
Listen, Note to self, those are good. I always say note to self, but I never
That's
actually.
a follow up with a reminder.
Right?
That's
That is-
perfect.
I was so mad at what they did to my bracket last year. I sent a note to future self. You know how you
Yeah.
talk about former self? You
Yes.
should go back and tell yourself something. I told something to future self that said, under no circumstances
That is
do you
funny.
take South Carolina or Mississippi State, which is true.
It's true.
Because of the 14 teams that are in from
They're
the
the
conference.
worst.
Neither one of them are in, are they?
I don't think so.
I don't think
No.
either.
I mean, but
them
out of the
made it in.
conference, they were the worst in the conference this year.
Not only that, but then they flamed out in a tournament last year, which makes me nervous because the SEC is really good, probably the best conference in the country, but all 14 of them aren't going to win.
Florida's
it's
rolling,
like,
though.
yeah, it's gonna be hard not to pick them. But so that's under no circumstances do you pick South Carolina or Mississippi State unless it's in women's basketball and you're at liberty to take South Carolina.
yes,
Then
that is true.
you take Don Staley. Here are the most commonly misspelled English words. The first is separate or separate. That one is hard for people, and it's important. Here's one rule of thumb: 2 A's and 2 E's.
Step A rat. A-rate.
Yeah,
A-rate.
that's a good way to do
Okay.
it. But 2 A's, too many people want to cram 3 E's into it, and it's 2 A's, 2 E's. Kind of like I always remember that Breckenridge, like Breckenridge Lane in Louisville, has 3 E's. Breckenridge County has 2 I's and 2 E's.
Well, even our buses didn't even know that for a while. So
Well, maybe they
we
just
have some buses in Breckenridge County that are Ian.
that are misspelled.
Yes.
Do they also spell school S-K-O-L-L? I don't know.
I don't know. I was like, who missed that? I mean, it was a running joke for a while in high school. We were like, who missed that?
Embarrass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's got 2 R's and 2 S's. And it's a lot of times people want to drop one of the R's or they want to drop one of the S's. That's popular. Definitely. I don't
Yeah.
have a problem with that one.
Well, I know some people that do.
It's people often get it definitely. Like, definitely. Receive.
I
They
get my
will-
I's and E's mixed up sometimes.
Well, we were always taught I before E except after C, and that one is after C, but there are so many exceptions to that rule.
Yes.
That it
drives me
it's
crazy.
ridiculous. Like it's not really it shouldn't really be even a rule because I think you can find maybe as many instances where that's not the case as you can it is the case. Necessary.
Yes.
It only has 1 C, and a lot of people try and squeeze an extra C in there. Convenient.
I actually tried to spell that this morning and had to think about it. Yeah.
It's got one eye. You got to remember
Yep.
it's got one eye and only one eye, and 2 E's. Accommodate. So you can see a pattern here. The double letters.
Yes.
The 2 C's and the 2 M's. Recommend. Pronunciation. Privilege is often misspelled.
I guess my question is why are you misspelling them when everything you have is spell checked anymore?
Well, it is and it isn't.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's
So for me, because I use the word receipt a
lot.
lot, okay? But because I don't want to have to think about it, I do RCPT, right? And just shorthanded because
And it turns it into.
right.
Okay.
So I mean,
yeah.
it will do, but
I like AI and I like the suggestions. Like I'm having a hard time now. So I'd be typing out a sentence and it's predicting what I'm going to say. And it's like, okay, how do I complete that? And it's like, oh, like right arrow, like just hit right arrow and it goes to the end. It's like, oh, well, look at there. But then there are times like, no, that's not what I
wanna
wanted to say. So I guess it's a learning process.
I have learned that you have to be nice to AI as well.
That's true because you don't want it to turn on you. Maintenance is one people get. They like to just leave it as maintain, and it's not exactly that way. Now on this list, there, and there, and I don't think it's misspelling of there, and there. I think it's misuse
Yes,
of
true.
there,
Yes.
and there. Rhythm, entrepreneur.
yeah.
I always think that entrepreneur should have an A in it, and it does not.
It's not.
Publicly, people like to turn that they like to leave it as public and then put ally on the end like ALLY, but that's not how it's done either. So As you know, well, you might not have heard it because it's said during the break, but she said it on the show many times. Miss Buckles does not have allergies.
No,
No,
I
yes,
do not.
Does not have it.
No.
If you listen to her, you hear her congestion. She clearly is not
I do
allergic to anything.
Not have allergies.
Not in any way. But it is the allergy season for those of you who at least admit to being allergy sufferers. And here are the U.S. cities that are facing a tough 2025 season.
I bet Louisville's on that list.
Caneyville, Litchfield, Clarkson, Dewstop, Shrewsbury. Number 5 on the list, Memphis, Tennessee. Number 4, Tulsa, Oklahoma. 3, Oklahoma City. 2, New Orleans, Louisiana. And number 1, Wichita, Kansas is the worst place for for allergy sufferers to live. And the allergy capitals are located largely in the southern and eastern parts of the country. And some of the reasons are because out west it was exceptionally wet for some period, and so that's one of the reasons that the wildfires have been so bad, is there's been so much extra vegetation for it to burn. And so when it's wet and that vegetation grows a lot, then it's creating more pollen, and it eventually ends up in our neck of the woods, if you will. So allergy sufferers, this is the time of year where I have to double up. I take allergy medicine daily, year round, but then I add in an extra dose of Flonase in the mornings, which now I'm reminded I did not do this morning.
Well, I think I'm due again for another round of Alka-Seltzer. So
Yeah, you probably are. Here are the 10. I don't know why we do. It's not something that I'm just overly fascinated with, but we talk a lot about baby names on the show and trends. And I think one of the reasons we do it is because I've observed that so many of us in this day and age seem to be struggling in this area.
You're very opinionated in this one.
I do not appreciate the hook it on Pahonics approach to naming. We were just talking about spelling school, SKOOL.
Yeah.
Some of you are putting weird letters in places where it makes it extremely hard for school teachers. Yes, and then get mad when you can't do it right. But here are some of the top middle name trends for the year 2025. And it was kind of interesting. The first boy's name run true with us. I'll get to it momentarily. According to Nameberry, for girls, the top middle name is Rose, followed by Grace, then Elizabeth, Marie, and Jane.
I have an Elizabeth.
We have an Elizabeth. For boys, the top middle name is James.
Yeah. You have a James.
Brady James. Then Alexander, then Michael, then Joseph, then Thomas. As for trends, the study starts with grandpa middle names, which are older names parents are using for girls, like Charles, Jean, Lou, and Clark are making up that category.
I know a Jean for middle name.
There's a Claude, and then I know the Burgess boys, they have a Hollis.
Yes,
and
I like
Hollis
that
is
name.
on the list.
I've seen that one around.
There are also some color middle names that are inspired by different colors and create eye-catching middle names. Blue, gray is being popular right now. Also, some people are using gold and silver.
What do you put that with?
We have a little.
As a middle name. Yeah,
But,
it's a
I mean, what do you?
pure gold.
Right.
Pure gold buckles. There we go. No, that's probably not how it's going to work. Modern single syllable middle names are names that have topped the charts for a while. Historically, names like Anne, Jane, and Lynn have fallen in this category and have been eclipsed by ones like Rose, Grace, and Jane. But for boys, Charles, John, and Lee were popular, and names like Boone, Judd, and Lane have become the modern adaptation.
See, we have a Charles, which is a grandfather's middle name, and a Lowell, which is a grandfather's middle name.
Also, our new iambic middle names, perfect flow names like Noel, Celeste, Soleil, Estelle, Lenore
I have a Celeste.
are being used. And then parents are also increasingly inspired by nature middle names, Dove, Bloom, Bear, and Storm. They're also using some mythological names like Atlas, Itzel, who's Itzel? Phoenix, and Jove, Jove are some of the middle names.
Now, mine are all, like I said, I've got an Elizabeth and I was a Lee. I am a Lee. So, I mean, those are all, like, you've listed all of them except for Solace's, and his wasn't on there. So,
What is his?
Lowell,
Lowell. Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
family name.
From the well duh department, Americans have apparently forgotten their manners, and it's all COVID-19's fault. Nearly half of us are convinced our fellow countrymen have become ruder in the wake of the pandemic, with a whopping 20% saying others are a lot ruder now. The other half say public behavior is about the same, and a small minority, 9%, I'd like to know who these people are, feel that people are behaving more politely in public. I think some are.
I think some are too. And I'm only rude if someone's rude to me first. And I'm just saying, I'm nice until somebody's rude to me, and then you get it. Sorry.
Yeah.
We've had some experience in that in the last few days.
Yeah, that's kind of hard. I think this is correct, but especially if your prism is online. Like, people are unbelievably awful.
Online.
Yes.
Because they can hide behind a keyboard. Say it to my face.
Yeah. If every time, if somebody had to show up at your front door every time you said something about them, or they could instantly teleport into the room where you are, people would do differently. It's just the things people will say and think that it used to be that was the fake world. Now that's the real world, and the real world is you see what
Yeah,
I'm
I understand.
unbelievable. We got to get to a break. We'll come back. Today's Did You Know is coming up. Plus, characters designed for kids that scared kids to death. Coming up here on In the Know.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good, but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With Private Healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private Healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready, and health insurance is your financial safety net. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, give us a call at 800-961-1527. That's 800-961-1527. 800-961-1527.
Every child deserves to feel safe, heard, and loved. Right now, there are children in our community facing tough times, and they need someone to stand by their side. That someone could be you.
My name is Misty, and I'm the 4-H Extension Agent from LaRue County, and I'm a proud CASA volunteer.
My name is Debbie Childress, and I'm the Executive Director of the Grayson County Alliance, and I'm a proud CASA volunteer.
My name is Kitty Smith. I'm a proud CASA volunteer from Meade County. You can be a CASA too.
It only takes a few hours a month to make a lasting impact. Your voice can help a child find hope and stability during the most difficult moments. Visit CASAHeartland.org or call us today to learn more. Help us build brighter futures, one child at a time.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SavedByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SavedByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SavedByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Kids across America are going to school hungry. Millions of kids every day. But one simple thing can help change all of this for a hungry child in America. Good healthy food and the energy it brings. With help from caring people across America, No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. To learn more about ending child hunger in America, go to helpnokidhungry.org today.
K105 weather from the Wave Storm Tracking Team is brought to you by Smith Overhead Door, SOHD.info.
Twin Lakes weather. Cloudy this afternoon with highs in the upper 60s and the low 70s. Windy as well with gusts near 40 miles per hour. Wind advisory is in place. This evening, some strong thunderstorms can race through the area with damaging winds and hail as our main threats. For tomorrow, scattered rain and snow showers in the forecast. From the Wave News Storm Tracking Team, I'm meteorologist Tawana Andrew.
When your baby leaves you all alone,
Did you know
and nobody
the first portable calculator
calls you on the phone,
weighed 2.5 pounds?
don't you feel like a cry?
The first VCR was the size of a piano.
That's crazy.
I don't know if it was a grand piano or an upright piano or a baby grand, but that's still large for a VCR.
It is.
I remember the first one we had. It was the size of, what would be a carry-on suitcase now.
Well, and I remember having, we had Dad had a stereo system and it had a recorder on the top, or, had a record player on the top. And then we were so cool because we had the 6 CD
Right.
Yeah.
And he would blast the music on Caroline Hill.
I ran across, I used to have one, and then I think Dad has one that he's willing to gift, is a 100 CD changer.
Oh, my
I think it's
goodness.
100. Yeah. Because it had the big book, and you put the jewel cases, or you put the sleeves
and you
in there.
Yeah, and then you would have, my kids we were showing them the other day, the big books of CDs that you had, in your car, and you'd have to search it.
That's
you
right.
know.
Yeah, find it.
Yes.
Usually it's slid under the seat.
Yeah, or up in the visor,
Five changer in my car.
Lord.
Without a doubt. I remember the first disc changer that I saw was, I think, in one of my parents' cars, maybe my dad's car.
Was it in the trunk?
It was in the trunk.
Mine was, too.
It was an Acura.
Yep.
And they had put it in, so you just put the cartridge in there. And then you went big time. They moved it into the console.
Yeah, see,
and
that's
you could
where
have
ours
3
was.
different magazines that you could swap them out. And
Yes.
hot swapping.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Good grief.
and now I showed you the meme the other day, and so this kind of goes along the line, but it was 2 people standing out there in front of one of the original computers that were the size of a house, and one of the computer technicians was looking at the other one and said, imagine one of these days you'll be able to hold this in your hand while you poop.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
Right.
Times have changed.
Oh,
We
man.
wonder why phones are dirtier than toilets.
I guess that's why.
Just
Here are 7 kids' characters that scared the dickens out of their intended audience. Some of these I don't even know, but some of them I definitely do know. Number 1, the coachman from Pinocchio. So, do you all recognize?
Sure.
So,
yeah, but I don't. Yes,
I do.
yes, I do.
I don't really know him. Most Disney villains are lovably evil, but
He's pretty. He's mean.
yeah, the coachman from Pinocchio is the stuff of actual nightmares. So he abducts little boys and takes them to Pleasure Island. So you can imagine that's not popular. Frazzle from Sesame Street. So he's not been around very long, but he's on your screen right now. But he kind of it was the teeth, really. That if you take the teeth away, it's not nearly as scary.
Yeah.
He's holding lollipops. So,
Yeah, it's kind
I
of
don't know.
hard. Frazzle from he's just a fuzzball, but the teeth makes him. I guess, and the horns too. All kinds of stuff. I never even heard of the Brave Little Toaster.
Oh yeah.
You know the Brave Little Toaster?
Yes.
I've
honey.
never heard of it.
I don't know why it would be scary.
All the
Do you?
appliances were trying to.
Oh.
Said for one
that's
thing,
true.
there's the disgruntled broken air conditioner who glitches out and explodes in a fireball. There's a repair shop filled with creepy appliances that have been experimented on. Kind of like Sid's bedroom.
That's sort of what. Yeah.
Right. When you go
That's what
open
you
up
think
Sid's
of.
bedroom, you go, oh, that's terrible.
So I can see little kids looking around their house going, okay, is this getting ready to...
Right. Zebo the clown from Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yes, I remember him.
I don't.
I don't know. Are
That
You
was more of
Afraid
like
the
Nick at
Dark?
Night kids. Yeah, that was us.
Artax the horse from the Never Ending Story. I don't know that I've ever actually seen the Never Ending Story, and because I was afraid, I didn't really have that much
I was
time to
going to
commit.
say, I never did really
So,
watch Never Ending Story.
I just thought it led me to believe that it was an infinite commitment, and I didn't really feel comfortable with that. E.T.
E.T. didn't scare me. I don't know. I was a scaredy cat as a kid, so there are a lot of things that scared me, but none of these are on that list.
Alea when she was small.
Yeah, and not just
You
Alea.
know, well, one of the ones that my kids really, really were scared of was the otter from Otterton on the movie with, oh gosh, I can't think of the name of it. Zootopia.
Okay.
Where he turns into a rabid otter. That scared my kids to death.
The Nutty Professor is younger enough than I am. My cousin Tyler, he told me back when E.T. came to the Alice Theater last year, and we were talking about my history with E.T., etc. He shared because he's younger. He was just young enough that he was scared to death of E.T. And Alea didn't like him either. And what's funny, it's all about perspective, because I had seen them. So I was on the other side of the movie, looking back, knowing what what happened to E.T. She's on the other side, just biting in, like she's on the hook for extraterrestrial coming to Earth, scaring everyone.
Yeah,
and so
I didn't like Gremlins.
What a difference a couple of hours makes in your perspective. Slappy from the Goosebumps.
I remember him too.
Is he like just a puppet, like a vaudeville?
Yeah, a little bit.
Kinda?
Yeah.
So I read Goosebumps. I was not part of the watching.
Yeah.
Goosebumps.
Okay.
That's an age thing there.
So there are 7 of the characters. Some of them I probably only knew about maybe 3 of those in total. So maybe they're scary, maybe they're not. I don't know. We got to get to a break. We'll come back. We're going to play Would You Rather coming up here on In the Know.
Most of us would rather forget painful memories, but remembering bad things is just as important as remembering good things. Nearly every city in America is filled with statues, plaques, and memorials that remind us of horrible events of the past. There are even certain dates on the calendar that carry the reverence of an official holiday, but aren't recognized officially. But why remember events like Pearl Harbor, the Holocaust, or slavery? Why pause for a moment of silence on September 11th? Why not banish all of that heartache from our collective memories? Because history is to a civilization what memory is to an individual. When a person loses his or her memory, like with dementia, the world becomes chaotic and filled with uncertainty and confusion. The same thing happens when a nation loses its collective memory. We easily forget the values that made our country the greatest in human history. Millions of Americans right now are too young to remember September 11th, the Challenger disaster, or the assassination of JFK. And everyone alive is too young to have witnessed slavery or the Civil War firsthand. We need monuments, old buildings, and holidays. We need to remember where we've come from. Only as we understand both the good and bad of who we are can we heal from our past and move toward a better future. For Focus on the Family, I'm Jim Daly.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten. Without Trinity's support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976. That's 1-800-990-6976.
Ian B's Point to Ponder for today is a round of Would You Rather. We haven't been able to play in a couple of weeks, so back together from my handy dandy Would You Rather book that I got. Was it a stocking?
I think so.
I don't know. I went ahead and selected the category for you today. It's hilarious history.
Okay.
Good. Okay.
So would you rather discover the diary of a Roman emperor or a founding father of the United States? Discover the diary of a Roman emperor or a founding father of the United States.
Founding father.
Yeah, I think so, but I don't know. The Roman Emperor would be kind of fun because it's so much further back in history.
I think there are so many crossroads we get to in our country these days. You know, obviously our president is doing things in an unconventional way that he says that he's afforded to do by the Constitution, and people who disagree with the moves are then saying, well, that's against the Constitution. I think it would be helpful to kind of understand. And I do like what Tom Homan said. Yeah, you can use a law from 1789 because you use a constitution from 1776.
Right.
So, but it is funny how people can kind of bend what they think the Constitution says depending upon the outcome that they desire. Would you rather have been in the audience for MLK's I Have a Dream speech or Lincoln's Gettysburg Address?
MLK.
Yeah, because I think about the Gettysburg Address, like you would have to have been. That was Civil War times. That was kind of rough.
I would have.
Yeah.
I would have. I'm happy to be living in the era that I'm living in.
Uh-huh.
I would much rather live in the 1960s than the 1860s.
That's exactly right.
I'll just say I can immediately think of some modern conveniences that 100 years made the difference in.
Running water and
that
toilets.
I would
Yeah.
choose. Yep, that's one. Would you rather have a one-on-one lesson with Socrates, or as Bill and Ted would say, Socrates, or Albert Einstein?
Albert Einstein.
Oh, Socrates.
I think I would go with Socrates, actually. And I don't know why. It just sounds like that would be, I think there's just more to unlock from life with Socrates than, I think most of Einstein's stuff is available. Of course, you can't talk to him.
Well, I think conversationally, it would be easier.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Have you, I know you haven't. Whitney, have you seen Oppenheimer?
I have seen half of Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I kind of did that too.
Yeah.
But I completed both halves.
Yeah.
I watched half and then I went back and watched the other half. Einstein is in it.
Yes, he is.
He plays a role.
Mhm.
Well, not the Einstein.
Einstein.
Someone playing Einstein. Would you rather be able? Would you rather be able to go back in time and change one historical event, or see 200 years into the future but not be able to change anything?
Oh. Go back in history or go forward?
Just go back in time and change one historical event. And I guess a historical event would be subjective. Yeah, would you say, well, I would change 9/11, or I would change like what? Or see 200 years into the future and not be able to change anything. Can you see everything 200 years into the future? You know, like you always talk about, you don't want to know the day that your earthly life ends.
I do.
Well, it would be 200. It would be beyond 200 years from now. So you wouldn't learn that. You would, although
Already
you
be
might
there.
learn how and when.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I
how
don't know,
much
I think
can
the
you
200
see?
years ahead would be kind of interesting for
I
me.
think so too. I
Because
struggle a little bit on that one, but I think so.
I would
because
like to see my people.
changing a historical event that is
That's like time travel, and you don't go back and change time, right?
Responsibility.
Look, if Marty McFly taught us
right?
anything,
Yeah,
Don't do
you don't
it.
start that chain of events. That's true.
I think I would go 200 years into the future
I
just
think-
for the simple fact if I could learn, did we ever get flying cars?
Or did we ever go to Mars?
We were told by the Jetsons, we're going to Mars. But I do like what Musk says. Yeah, I'm going to Mars, but I don't want it to be a crash landing.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Like, I want to know, are we, how far in advance are we?
No, he said, I think he was asked this, do you want to die on Mars? And he said, yes, but not in a crash landing.
Yeah.
Because if you go,
You're going to die.
you're not coming back. Like
No.
this is going to be one-way trips to Mars once humans go there. Today's highlight in history. Now let's do TV first. On NBC tonight, Opry 100, a live celebration honoring 100 years of the Grand Ole Opry. Ashley McBride, Carly Pierce, Carrie Underwood, Clint Black, and others. And then the other two play-in games are tonight. You've got American versus Mount St. Mary's, and you've got Texas versus Xavier. I presume Texas is going to win that,
I think so, too.
which would, impact Kentucky's future in the tournament. Today's highlight in history, potentially. Today's highlight in history, this date in 2003, in a televised address, President George W. Bush announced the coalition forces had begun an invasion of Iraq. Birthdays today, Ursula Andress is 89, Ruth Pointer is 79, Glenn Close is 78, Bruce Willis is 70, Andy Reid is 67, Clayton Kershaw is 37, Yukon Cornelius is celebrating a birthday today.
Hey, happy birthday.
Does that make him 4 to the 6? I think he is 4 to the 6. I don't know that for
I
sure.
think that's
but
right.
my rough math tells me that. Wyatt Earp was born this date in 1848. Williams Jennings Bryan was born in 1860. Earl Warren was born in 1891. He was the governor of California, but he was also our 14th Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. Chart toppers for today. If you had Patty Page with back-to-back days with number ones on your bingo card, you win. 1954, Patty Page was number one with Cross Over the Bridge. Yesterday it was How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? Thank you, Patty. Let's go to 1963, The Four Seasons, and Walk Like a Man. If you see the Jersey Boys, they have a very distinct choreography to this. You all don't know this, but I was an understudy in the cast of Jersey Boys. I just never got called up. Nilsson, Without You, number one in 72. Harry Nilsson's version or Mariah Carey's version? What you taking?
Ooh.
I don't know that I've heard either.
Neither. All right. 1981. REO Speedwagon. I was watching the lyrics to this song this morning, and I have never picked up that verse 1 is about her being a snake in the grass. I had never noticed. I never picked those lyrics out of there. It turned like turned and coiled, and it was like, what? Why are we talking about snakes? Let's go to 1990. Atlanta Miles. Black Velvet. She came out of nowhere. I mean,
really
that
did.
song was just everywhere. It was inescapable. It's kind of like Sheryl Crow's our first hit. That's kind of what. Well, Sheryl Crow had a little more longevity.
I'm not a fan of.
Atlanta Miles. 1999, Cher, Believe was number one. 2008, Flo Rida and T-Pain, Low. Sorry, apple bottom jeans and the boots with the fur.
Oh, that makes me think of college.
And 2017, Ed Sheeran, Shape of You was number one. Whitney, thanks for coming.
Yep, glad to be here.
Good luck to your kids on the ball diamond. MD's Pearl of Wisdom for today says genius is more often found in a cracked pot than a whole one. Genius is more often found in a cracked pot than a whole one. MD's Pearl of Wisdom for today. Remember, God loves you, and I do too. If you don't know Jesus, let me know and I'll introduce you. Look forward to seeing you back here tomorrow for another edition of our show. For Whitney Carmen, for Beej, I'm MB, and now you're in the know.
The Twin Lakes Best Mix is WKHG, Litchfield. The Twin Lakes Best Mix, K105.